So, the end of week 2, and what an end of week it was. I ended up probably having my life saved. And I don't exaggerate, but I think in sober thought, the program that I'm on, Prolongevity, if I hadn't found it, I was just on the edge of two things, either a stroke or a heart attack. Why do I say that? Because I've had not one, not two, but three doctors, including one who was a consultant in an A&E department, say exactly that. I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect it. So let me tell you what week 2 was all about. First off, what's going on is that, as I explained earlier on, I've got monitoring going on. There's sugar monitoring, but also every day I take my blood pressure on my left and my right arm. What was happening was that I was undergoing the usual work pressures, and one day I had a horrible day, a really horrible day, and my blood pressure just basically bust the mercury, and I knew I was probably in a very hypertensive, as the medical term states, hypertensive state, but I've been through lots of those over the last few years. Running a small business, you can't expect to not have a few ups and downs. But Graham emailed me and said, John, as a medical advisor, professional, I have a duty to tell you to go and see your GP. And you know what? I told him, no, I'm not going. I know what it is. I can deal with it. Pass the issue over to my lawyer and everything will be fine. And the rest of the week it wasn't fine. My blood pressure was still peaking every now and again. And I also noticed, because I'm doing left and right, there was a quite noticeable difference between blood pressure. And I did some Googling, as you do. Google. And the answer from two sources, the Harvard Medical Journal, was, and also the BMJ, was that this was a good indicator of a heart attack. So I ate humble pie and had a little chat with Graham, and on last Friday booked an appointment to go and see my GP. Graham told me to take all of my notes and some recommendations in terms of what he felt might be useful tests. And I explained to my doctor exactly what was happening, the program I was on, showed him some of the results. It only took him 2 minutes to say, this is crazy stuff. And he had a real pop at Graham indirectly by saying, you know, you're being caught when you have any conditions like this by all sorts of people selling, you know, stuff that is not stuff that we would endorse. I won't go into all the details, but essentially I got chucked out with very little understanding, and with the doctor saying, what do you want me to do, and asking me to dictate a note to be sent to the Quality Care Commission. And I wasn't very happy, because he didn't even take my blood pressure. And I'd walked in there, and one of the things he had said is, what exactly is wrong with you? And I said, well, I've given you a list of all the things, that the symptoms that Graham's programs uncovered, but one of the most worrying ones is blood pressure. But he didn't take my blood pressure. So what would that do to anybody with high blood pressure? Well, it wouldn't reduce the blood pressure. So on Saturday morning, because Graham's monitoring me every day, he sent me a quite, it wasn't stern, but it was firm, and it was endorsed by the fact that his partner is a GP. and that what I should do was get myself across to Milton Keynes Urgent Care Centre for an assessment. He didn't say I was due to have a heart attack or anything like that. It was just, look, come on, get yourself off and get checked. So I queued up and was seen by a doctor. He didn't want to believe the very high readings I'd taken when I was triaged, and he did his own methodical manual tests and concurred. And I'll use these words. He said, Mr. Allard, the human body isn't designed to survive very long at the level of blood pressure that you have. And he said that he was going to refer me directly to Ward 1 by means of a telephone call with them. He said if they, having gone through what he's diagnosed, don't think it's very urgent, then I may possibly just give you a prescription and tell you to try and get your blood pressure down with a couple of pills. But the answer was go straight to Ward 1. The people were worried by all the evidence that they'd seen. And without going into the ins and outs of it, I had a real battle over the weekend because I was prescribed, after all the tests, the first time in my life, some pills to reduce blood pressure, and they didn't work. So actually my blood pressure was continuing to rise even with those pills. So I had 3 trips to the hospital, and by Monday morning things had settled down. And I've had another trip to my doctor confirming, this is a different GP than the one I saw, but confirming that things have settled down. So quite a difficult week, and if I hadn't been on Prolongevity, if I had not had the serendipity to actually meet Graham and to have the opportunity to go on this, I know that I would have had one of those 2 things, a heart attack or a stroke. I'm now in a safe state. The signs are good. I'm starting to respond well. I've taken a few changes, and I've started the program which is aiming to try to reduce this wall of insulin that's been building up, this very high level of insulin. And already I'm starting to feel some benefits. Things like minor things I can reveal, like psoriasis, have disappeared. I am also getting no hunger pangs like I used to. I used to really crave stuff at certain times of day, and I don't anymore. So we're now on to this low glycemic ingredients, natural food, sort of diet. But it's more than a diet. It's tuned, because I know I seem to peak very easily. I seem to just go through the roof if I have anything with wheat in it. So I'm now avoiding all of that, and I'm starting to get a really much better response to sort of sugar conversion by my insulin. So over the next few weeks, we'll see what happens. Join me for the 3rd week, the results of the 3rd week, and I will hopefully have some more positive news. It's been a bit heavy this last 7 days, but I'm now in a good place, and I'm ready to start really motoring and lowering my risks and improving all my all-round scores. Sorry if I've rambled on too long. I just feel that this was a momentous point in my life, one I'll always remember, and I'll always thank Graham for helping make happen. So if you're watching, Graham, thank you from both me and Sue.